Are you happy? Are you deep down satisfied with the person you are, how you're living your life, and the future as it appears today? Do you have a passion? Is there any one thing in your life that is so important that it makes prioritizing everything else simple? If the answer to any of those questions is no, do you have any idea why? Welcome to the Verimour Speaks podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Keegan, co-founder of the dating app Verimour and the nonprofit app Hero Harbor. Happiness, mine and that of others, is something that's always been very important to me. I've devoted my life to understanding how we take the things life throws at us and combine that with our own special gifts to come away with an experience that, while not always perfect, is one we are proud of and allows us the fewest regrets and least amount of heartache. Whether through my personal musings or conversations with guests, the aim here is not to find a one-size-fits-all to-do list of change, but instead a mindset that lessens our fear, reduces judgment of ourselves and others, and frees each individual to build the life that truly represents happiness for them. Thank you for joining us on the Verimour Speaks podcast. I've always worked to provide the most honest, helpful content I could in forms that reach the largest possible audience. And my extreme dislike of greed-driven organizations means I do so without ads or sponsors. But for us to continue improving with better guests and more consistent production quality, we need your help. If you have found any value in what we do and the content provided, please show us a little love by making a contribution directly to the podcast or as a tax-deductible donation on the heroharbor.org website. Thank you again for listening, and please enjoy the show.
Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls.
Welcome back. Today we're talking to Joshua Granger, a Black Heart from 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. I hope I got that right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Welcome, Joshua, and thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
All right. So I'm going to start you off the way I start everybody off and just ask you how you ended up in the Marine Corps and that path, and as much as you want to tell me about your time in and how you got from there to here.
Well, I guess really, I was just working. I've always enjoyed reading about military and all that kind of stuff and all that, but for me, it really was the gears started turning when the towers got hit.
Mm-hmm.
The so guy I was working with.
You joined after 9/11?
Yeah, I got in after 9/11.
Wow.
So the guy I was working with came out yelling that it was World War III, and I didn't know what was going on, so I took off, went down to Walmart, and I seen the second plane hit, and I was like, oh yeah, this, somebody's gonna pay for this, so at the time I was in a relationship and didn't go in, with that, and then with the end of that relationship I signed up. By then I was 21 when the towers got hit. I was 22 when I signed up. There were so many people trying to get in, specifically even into the Marine Corps infantry, which was crazy to me too, because, I could get into all kinds of other jobs, but the Marine Corps infantry was packed up. I had almost a year to wait to get in. And so
that
I was
28. A lot about Marines.
Yeah. So I was 23, October 13th of 2003.
Mm-hmm.
I went in. So that's how I went to boot camp. And, I just, like I was saying in one of my other videos, I scored high enough to do whatever I wanted, and I wanted to get in the fight quick, and I wanted to see what it was like, and, the up close stuff. So it was the infantry for me. And I ended up going to Iraq in 04, to Ramadi, Iraq in 04. And then we were there into part of 05. And then went back in 07 to Ramadi again.
Mm-hmm.
So Ramadi in 04, it was pretty wild. You know, there was definitely some Wild West stuff going on there. And as far as hitting on how things went there compared to afterwards, you know, the struggles after getting out, some of the things that I experienced, and these are things I've talked about with people that are hard to explain to family.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the ways I experienced things didn't add up to what I imagined. You know, my thinking switched from feeling like I was gonna, you know, end up in hell for shooting some person to,
Mm-hmm.
oh great, now I'm a bad person because I love this thing that I wasn't supposed to love.
Right.
And then, you know, everything happens through the whole deal, and then when you get out, and it, I mean, to try to explain something like that to my mother, you know what I'm saying, something like that just makes me sound like a terrible, terrible person, you know. I mean, you know, like,
no, I know.
See on people's faces
Mm-hmm.
that they you can see on people's faces that they might be trying to understand,
Right.
but
Right.
it's a little rough.
Well, and
know?
I have said to people too. I mean, I went through the same, you know, not MCT or any of that other, or you know, any other stuff, but I went through the same training you did, and had it been possible, you know, again, I volunteered out of Parris Island because I'm a Marine. That's what I'm supposed to do. And had they, you know, they told me I was public affairs, and so my job back then, back in the old days, we still had film cameras, none of this digital crap. And so my job, the guys would go forward with the civilian media, and they would bring back their film to me, and then I would get it back to the rear. So I was sort of a courier. And they said to me, while you're not supposed to be in combat areas, should we put you on a on helo and it get, you know, sent in for a medevac, you could end up there. And I would have done it. Anything, if I had been allowed, if they had given me, you know, and I don't hunt, I don't kill things if I don't have to, short of bugs and things that don't count. But however, if I can flip that switch, and had I been asked to do that, I would have. So, but I had said, even with all that, knowing all that, it is hard for me to imagine what you've done. Or so recently, to speak to that, and why I have to say I'm so thankful that you're here and toughing this out. Recently, I was talking to a young lady who I'm in Florida, and she's here going to school. She's very, very young. And her husband is active duty Army in Georgia. As I was telling her about Hero Harbor and what we're doing, she says, you know, I'm getting chills on my arm. She said, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this, but just last week, my husband's first sergeant killed himself.
Right.
The man had been in for 21 years in the Army, 15 of those as a sniper. So now he's looking at retirement, and he's looking at what you're talking about. You know, it's like his job was every day to go out there, and his men revered him. You know, his men thought he was, you know, amazing because he could do that with, you know, such. And so as you're talking, there's a couple things that go through my mind. You know, we're supposed to take, all of us, anybody, you're supposed to take pride in your work. So right. How does that translate when your work is, you know, and the thing is why I think there's so much more honor in what you did is that you had to do it. You had to, I mean, there's nothing more personal than taking a life like that. And yet there's all these organizations, as we were talking about just a few minutes ago, even the social media, they are culpable in the death of so many of these people for a variety of reasons that I won't go into, and yet they do it all from behind their computers and everything else, and they can, you know, they can pretend that they don't have any, you know, anything in any.
Not that many people are willing to get their hands actually bloody.
Right, exactly, and that's the thing. It's like, it's we would not be here. How many wars have there been, and you did an incredible, valuable service. And the fact that you struggle now with that it's just that hurts my heart. So, but we glossed over in your entire career. So I want to back up a little bit. First of all, tell me about this Blackheart thing. What it, just explain that to me.
Oh, that's Fox Company Blackhearts out of 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. That's just our unit. That's
See, I was headquarters and service battalion, so we didn't have stuff like that. So now my first husband was recon, so he had, I don't remember what it looked like, but he had he was second recon, and he had a tattoo specific to his unit. I
got one too.
Yeah. So all that is, all that's, so talk a little more about that. And well, anyway, and so tell me about some of the people that you worked with, and just expound a little bit more on the career. I know. What are some of the things you've talked about in your videos? Because I haven't listened to them.
I worked with some. I got lucky. I got to be with a really, world-renowned group of guys. 5th Marines. Most decorated in the Marine Corps, so in that regard, I just got really lucky there, so my company was a boat company, infantry boat company, so we did lots of water training and all that kind of stuff, but then we went to the sandbox, which we actually did do one boat raid on the Euphrates River. That was the second time we were there, but whatever, that wasn't too crazy, but so the guys I was with, one thing that I really enjoyed out of going into the Marine Corps and being with the guys that I was with, I got to actually see what real hardcore Americans are like, like when I sit here online and I see all these people calling all these military members cowards and everything, I'm just sitting there inside, like, it pisses me off, but I'm also chuckling going, you guys ain't got a clue. Like, on movies and stuff, they have gangsters doing drive-bys and stuff. I watch our boys walk straight down the middle of the street with machine gun fire and everything, and sitting there calling out orders and doing their thing and not freaking out, So I got to see some guys definitely be extra human, like things that I would have never imagined. I thought I would see more panic. I thought I would see more people freaking out, stuff like that. But I can say for the most part, that was non-existent. Yeah. The guys were solid as a rock.
Well, I say it takes a special kind of crazy to be a Marine, and it does. But it's you think about, and there's so many things that go through my mind when you're talking. We think of these school shootings and all that kind of stuff. Those people are harming innocent. There is no argument. These are innocent people that they are killing. And so I don't know what the, that we're kind of off topic there, but the, what was I going to say?
We're a different kind of crazy.
Absolutely. But it
seems like everybody tries to lump us in the group with like those kind of people. It's a different kind of crazy.
Right. It is. And the thing is, because it's not,
it's a good crazy.
It is. And the Marine that launched the first half of his podcast today, we were talking about this, and he had talked the same way I did. He talked to all the branches, and the Marine Corps was the one that stuck, and I won't go into all that, but we talked about how the Marine Corps chose me because they gave me the job that they asked for. But it was the perfect fit. I would not have been happy in any other branch because we are special. We're overachievers. Now, not everyone, but what's that?
I'm the only Marine that I know that went into the Marine Corps without having my GED or diploma.
Wow. How'd you manage that? Is that just because I needed it so badly, or?
I had been going to college classes when I was in high school. I ended up getting kicked out of high school, but that's another stupid story. Yeah. But I was going to college classes. So. I was going to college classes at the time, so I had, I think, a year's worth of college credits. So I actually got put in as a PFC
That's funny.
without having any GED or high school diploma. That's why I tell people, when they say they can't do something, I'm like, there's usually a way.
Oh,
There's a way. I mean, granted,
I
I didn't think I could get in. I went in and I talked to the Air Force and the Navy and the Army, and
right.
I actually just, I talked to all of them, and I didn't go in the Marine Corps because I had heard that there's no chance of getting in there with the way my stuff was,
Right.
And so I walked out, and I was heading towards the door, and the recruiter comes in, and he asked me what's up, and I said, well, he asked me why I didn't come check out the Marines, And I said, I'd love to be a Marine, like that's, the best. That's why I'm walking out of here without signing anything, is because I don't really want to be a part of these other branches, but I want to do something. But, and he goes, well, why do you think you could get into the Navy over there? And I told him, they said they could get me in because of my college credits. They could get me a high school equivalent. And he goes, well, maybe we could do the same thing. He's like, I never tried before, but whatever, it worked out and I got in, so.
Yeah, I mean, I knew nothing about the Marine Corps. I had, my dad was Air Force, his brother was Navy, my brother was my younger brother was Army. And since like I said, I got pregnant and dropped out of high school, I was never recruited. So I just assumed the little bit I knew of the Marine Corps, wherever I got my information, I just thought they didn't take women. So I took my ASVAB, scored really well. And I went to talk to everybody, and of course that was in '89. There were no wars, and that's something else I wanted to say to you too, is that I had said this long ago, that I have so much additional respect for anyone who joined after 9/11, because before that we had no wars on the horizon, or back when I joined in '89, and until the Gulf War, there was nothing. We just joined because, usually for college or whatever, but there was no idea that we would be, getting into something. But anybody who joined after that, after 9/11, they knew exactly what they were getting into. And, there's so much, I mean, never mind the whole infantry thing that's just, but, and so back to when you're talking about those people who are hateful, when I first started promoting HH on Instagram, and I hate wallowing in the muck of that social stuff, because there's so much stuff. I had a person, and I think it was a woman, I don't know, and I've seen more than one of these accounts. Anyway, I got this wall of verbiage that I didn't even bother reading, but it was in all caps, and she's telling me how, the real heroes are the ones who commit suicide and don't follow don't follow the orders of the greedy, government. And what made me so mad was that I didn't think of the argument. I wouldn't have argued with her anyway, because you can't argue with stupid. These people are hurting. They either have really sad and pointless lives themselves, that they have. I mean, that's the only reason that if they had something good to offer the world, and if they had any kind of joy in their own lives, they wouldn't have to do that. Either way. Right. And I have said to more than one person, please, I will buy you the ticket, get the hell out of my country and stay there. If you think you can find better elsewhere, the only reason that we have the freedoms that we do is because of these men and women who have been doing this for decades. Right. Anyway, the point is what aggravated me was that I didn't think about the argument, what the retort to that was, till later. And the fact is, if your argument is that they shouldn't be, well, okay, first of all, they're veterans, so that's already done. You can't, there's no, you can't, they've already followed the orders. But if your argument is that we should kill ourselves because instead of doing the bidding of our government, greedy government, then by that logic, every person who works for a greedy corporation, which is most of them, should also kill. We wouldn't have anybody left. Yeah.
It makes It makes no logical sense.
Exactly. And so, there is so much that happens here in America in the name of religion that holds women down, holds any number of people down. We use religion to say, blacks are bad, or gays are bad, or this is bad. And the thing is, what I'm trying to do, from the most important thing, is to save our heroes. But additionally, part of the mission in saving them is to release them from their own hate and anger and what all. And for instance,
well,
and I don't
so
know how. Go ahead.
So if you take this conversation in particular,
Mm-hmm.
with the way that this would apply to my battle
Mm-hmm.
with anger and PTSD per se,
Right.
you know, after getting out and all that,
Right.
This would be one of those subjects
Mm-hmm.
that I used to be online and like savagely angry
Trigger
about.
for you. Yeah.
Politics, which first off, I don't think, like, I've kind of stepped back, but I still pay attention, but I don't put my opinion out there quite as much
Mm-hmm.
because I get too angry because we have too many stupid people on so many levels.
Right.
But the problem is all of these things with all these people that are, for lack of a better way of saying, they're stupid people that we have in this country that have no common sense or, common reasoning or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, with all these crazy ideas that they have, I would be so angry. I'd already had my anger inside me already.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I even was online, I had to basically pull back from even being on social media.
Right.
I couldn't even be online. I didn't hardly go out anymore. I didn't go, I kind of regressed back, kind of hermit style.
I get it.
Just from these kind of issues where the one thing is, if I feel like I'm right, I don't back up.
Right.
At all. In the face, I ain't backing up, like, ever. So, like, I'm not gonna back off and change my idea, So that's where, for me, on a lot of those kind of things, I think it's really terrible for vets coming back who believe in the goodness of the country and the goodness of the people, and they want to believe all that stuff, especially going in as a younger person. You just really have all this faith, and you get out, and the more you see, and all this anger boils up inside you because you're just going, why are you guys destroying everything good that we have, And so it definitely all plays together.
Okay, so I guess this is what I'm getting at. We know that there's idiots here in our country, and we know that they're spewing all kinds of crap. Now, if they have the loudest voice and the people in other countries are looking at those voices and judging all of our country based on those voices. Now, we are doing, and I'll give you a couple examples in a second, we are doing the same thing by saying Muslims are bad, or, Iraq is bad, or what, by saying that. And so, like I said, I'll give you a couple examples here. For instance, when I was in Austin, Texas, a few years ago, I was driving Uber for a while, and through that, I met a young man. He was 25 at the time, who was from Baghdad, Iraq. Now, the first time he came up on my screen, and then gets in my truck. He gets in the front seat, which is really unusual because most people get in the back. Anyway, gets in the front seat of my truck, and I call it a truck. It was a Pathfinder or whatever. Anyway, he gets in my truck, and me, one of the first thoughts I had, because I asked him where he's from. And to me, one of the most, aside from all the anger and the hate and the killing, one of the most challenging and frustrating things to me about 9/11 is that, or that's not the wording that I want, but is this idea that now all of a sudden, prior to that, it would have never crossed my mind. I wouldn't have had any question about this guy. It's like, okay, it's just 20-year-old 20-something from Iraq or whatever. But after that, all of a sudden, there's that momentary thought: what is this 25-year-old Iraqi doing here in my country? And could he? It's like, and it was momentary for me. And I'm the type of person, rather than jump to judgment, I learn more about him. And because I picked him up several times, and we several times sat in parking lots and just talked. And he was here, basically, he and his brother both on political asylum, because after 9/11, he was in middle school when the towers fell. And soon after we attacked their country, he went from having a normal basic farm life or whatever to no electricity, no running water, all, doing his homework by candlelight, that sort of thing. As he continues, the war goes on, he gets a little older, he's 17. They have to avoid crowds, all this stuff. I mean, their entire life, from middle school until he got here in a number of years ago, it was all war. And I mean, can you imagine our streets every single day, just war all the time? I mean, that's all we knew. Your children, and every day, that's what they experienced. Dead bodies, and as I did an interview with him, and as he was saying to me, he said it used to be that, when people died, it was sickness or old age. He said then every family you knew had been affected in some way by the war. Anyway, he ended up here because, as I said, they had to avoid crowds and such. And he and his brother went out one day. He had a younger brother, 16-year-old brother, and they went out. They were going to go shopping, and they had forgotten that there was a soccer match between Saudi Arabia and Iraq. And it turns out that Iraq won. And so all these people are out there celebrating in the streets. And long story short, a terrorist blew up a car, and there was numerous sub shocks from that. Anyway, his brother Mustafa, most common name in Iraq, Mustafa's brother was killed by that thing. Now, he was then taken advantage of by his own people, whatever people who it's like, oh, because he was working at some point for the for a multinational security force, because it was the best way for him to earn money to help support his family. Anyway, his own people, they thought he was working for the Americans, so they're threatening him. He's getting envelopes sent to his family's house with bullets in them, that kind of thing. Anyway, my point is when I talked to him, the pain I heard in this young man's voice, he saw his brother's burnt body, and he was taken advantage of by people in like Jordan, and there was some other anyway who put him to work, but because he didn't have a work visa, they didn't pay him. His own Muslim people. And then he gets here and he's hated because he's Muslim, and he's just trying to figure it out. He's caught somewhere between Muslim and Christianity, and the confusion over he now is separated from his family for the rest of his life, because of all that. So my point is, they might judge us because of our crazy people, and we judge them on behalf of their ISIS and the people. And yet, and going back to what you were saying about the way they treat their women, I completely agree with you. Right. Yeah, I mean it's because I have to admit I have never been beyond the. And so for me as a human being, as a life coach and all of those things, because I didn't see the ugly side of it, it's a real challenge for me, because I try to look at each person that I come across as an individual, and you're right, there's people that I just like, what, and it doesn't matter whether they're black, white, or otherwise.
See, like where like I was wrong,
mm-hmm.
Because I do think a guy should admit when he's wrong,
mm-hmm.
and apologize for it or whatever. Was like during even when I was watching all this political stuff online, and during the whole Obama years, and it really seemed like there was you could just feel the white hate growing everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
You could see it, you could feel it. And
hang on, describe that. What do you mean by white hate? What is that? I mean,
you can look all over online. You got a bunch of white people saying that people should be ashamed of their own skin color. You got, whether you have black people saying it, you have whatever. You got, the basic, all the different racial turmoils, mm-hmm. which I think the racial turmoils are completely separated from something like the Muslim issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's religious. That's completely different. Racial is literally what skin are we born in.
Right. That's something you can't choose. Right, and that's what I said on that with my MLK thing.
Sorry, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have been a white guy.
Right. I agree. I completely agree with that. Right.
So there was one statement that that changed my way of thinking on that. It took a few years, but
mm-hmm.
because I was angry, and I've never been part of no, white thing or nothing like that. But anyways, but I would say derogatory stuff all the time, which I don't think any words should be counted out. If somebody wants to say something bad, go ahead, say it. Somebody might kick your ass.
It's just air. It's just air and sound,
I'm just saying somebody might kick your ass for it too, but you should be able to say it, get whatever consequences you get or whatever. But he was my platoon commander, and he's black, and I watched him do like some hardcore badass stuff, just walking, just chilling, walking right down through the street where there's all kinds of gunfire and all kinds of stuff, so and I know he loves the country, and I know he's awesome, and I would die for this guy. So one day online, he goes, he's like, Granger, he goes, you could do a lot of good in this world, but you sure say some ignorant shit sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it kind of caught me, I was like, man, okay, like, all right, it took a few years. I had to think about it, but that's what he's saying. Like, I still got, I got a tattoo that says I'm white and proud, and I don't feel bad about that, but I am glad I at least worded it in the way so it's not like, trying to be a part of a gang, because I think everybody should be proud and all that. But so I kind of changed my ways a little bit on that kind of stuff, started because the problem is I want to help vets, and this is where it really started hitting me. I do want to help vets. I want to help anybody that has a problem, like any of us coming back.
Right.
And with the way I was speaking, it was alienating, these guys that I actually do look as good Americans that I would die with, so why would I want to alienate them? And I don't want to alienate them. I was mad at other people, you know what I'm saying? But it was kind of,
I get it. Yeah.
So I definitely changed. That's where I wanted to change in that kind of a way, because I don't want to be like that, so, that's where I think there's a difference. There's,
I guess what it comes back to
racism and skin color stuff, and then ideologies and ways of thinking.
And I guess what I'm trying to get across to people is everything you said is probably, I mean, you, like you said, you were there and you saw it. And I know you're right. I mean, the idea that you can, a woman can be raped and then stoned to death because of it, that's just insanity. It's absolute insanity. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that for each of us as individuals, hating anything is not beneficial. And as long as I'm wasting my energy hating anyone or anything, then that rage, that rage takes over your body, and
that's
so
what I was saying. It was toxic for me.
Right, exactly.
Like I didn't change my ideas so much. Like it's not like I got offline and then all of a sudden just now I'm some big Muslim lover or something like that, But I'm not gonna be mad and raging about it every day, because it was just dragging my lifestyle down, dragging me down. It was just toxic, and it was actually tiring.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is that, yes, I mean, I am hardcore feminist in the sense that, and I hate even saying that because people just like everything else, they twist it all around. What that means is I can take care of myself. I'm independent. I'm not looking for a man to take care of me. I'm not looking for someone to support me. I can carry my own groceries. I can, I'm independent. And that's all that means. It means that I don't need anyone in my life. I have people in my life because I want to. Hang on. So, but what I was getting at is that, so as a feminist, I love, you've got the greatest smile. And nobody listening to this is going to get to see that. But what I was going to say is that, as a feminist, yes, what you talk about and what I'm aware of, it hurts my heart so badly. It also hurts my heart that, we have people in power that every single day use their gender or their gender and their power to subjugate other people. And it's still, we may not be stoning people, but I can tell you right now, stuff is happening all the time. What I'm getting at is I can be angry about their behavior, or the way that they live. However, since I can't change it, And nobody online bitching about it is changing it either. You're not going to change the Muslim community. You're not going to change anything. So why not back up like you did? Back up and just take care of yourself. And because as long as you're angry at anything, because the thing is, they're using that anger to hide or cover up whatever they're unhappy about in their own lives. It's easier to hate and trash talk, other things than it is to work on yourself. And if we would work on ourselves and be happy and make the world, our immediate world, better, that smiling, hugging, complimenting, all the dumb shit, if we would do that, then our world would be better, and we wouldn't, but I think you know what I'm getting at. Is all I'm saying is that from a personal standpoint, the same thing you recognize from a personal standpoint, that hate was not helping you, and you're a happier, kinder person, and you can be a better father and a better, significant other, just a better human being, a better son, a better, whatever, because you are not carrying around that anger. So I guess that's what I'm getting at, is it doesn't matter what you're angry at.
I had a lot of people talk to me about, like, before, with the way I'd be talking, and they'd say, you're not going to be winning people over to your side with the way you're talking and all this stuff. And, I'd honestly tell them, I ain't trying to win people over to my side.
Right.
I think these people are stupid, and really that's still the way I feel. I just don't go online and talk about it so much. Right. But because I'd just be angry over, it's like being angry at a rock,
Right, exactly.
But I wasn't trying to win those people over. But in the process of telling them how pathetic I thought they were, I was saying things in ways, even though not intended, that was ending up being derogatory and pushing away good Americans that I actually do care about. Because really the bottom line to me is America. Right. And the reason I don't like a lot of these people and the people that I was talking about is because I know that the things they're doing and the way they're going is completely destroying this country. And they are the kind of people that our forefathers would have shot. Our forefathers started over a war over what, a 1% tax? Right. I guarantee they would have started a war over a whole bunch of people going around preaching socialism. Right. That's the same thing they fought to get free of, so. Right. But even though, I don't like that stuff. I do hate that stuff. I do know it's un-American, but it was just too toxic for me to continue being angry about it. And I'm not happy. Don't get me wrong. No. But to continue fighting about it every day, I had to step back. And try to be more just about my family and stuff. And if I can do, because originally, I don't know if you've seen anything what I was talking about, but so if we get into the VA thing, so if we get into that side of it, my plan is, and this is to help my anger and stuff too, and to help other vets, I eventually want to get a place over by the Bighorn Mountains. It's where I grew up over there. And on either the Little Goose or Big Goose Creek, and then just have a couple, obviously I would like them to be as nice as possible, but a couple cabins that vets could come chill in when they're having really rough times, because they have the VA hospital there, and it's a pretty big one in Sheridan there for the area, and a lot of vets come there that are having problems. And so the one thing that I saw going to the VA that I really hated right when I originally got there was, so I had the reason I went in was I had it's kind of embarrassing to say, but I had some sort of a mental breakdown, I freaked out, I was, thank God I wasn't in a crowd or, it's not like I would have went off shooting people, but they would have put me in a straitjacket, for sure.
You're not
it wasn't that kind of a freak out, but
that's important.
I was out there fishing. The way it happened for me, I was out there fishing, perfect day, perfect day on the next to the Bighorns, and I'm fishing and my lure barely snags on a rock and just pops loose. And just that little bit of agitation, I freaked out. I smashed my pole into a million pieces, flung it in the woods, and I'm out there screaming at a tree, and I mean freaking out, screaming, they weren't even real words, until my head felt like it was going to split. and I was a single dad at the time, trying to raise my daughter, my infant daughter, and that's when I went back and I went to the VA to get help.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, because I went in there and I didn't know what I needed. I just knew I needed help. I knew I was like at a point where if somebody messed with me, I've always been a scrappy guy and I've always been good at hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I don't need to be in
Right.
this mindset
Right.
trying to raise a daughter and have somebody
Right.
mess with me, and then I go way overboard and hurt
Right.
them too badly, So I went to the VA, asked for help, told them I needed some sort of a chill pill or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem I ran into right there at the VA instantly was they don't really have anything. They didn't at the time, anyways, as far as I knew, anyways, they didn't have something to try to help you
Mm-hmm.
right then, right there, other than going into a mental ward.
Right.
That's not happening.
Right.
Because like I got done talking with the lady and she said, should we allow you to go home? I was like, that'd probably be in your best interest. Like you want to get a real crazy man, try stuffing me into a straitjacket and see how this works out,
No, I know.
But so that was my first bad experience with the VA, where I was like, wow, this is, a lot of this is in hindsight looking
Mm-hmm.
back and putting it all together. But that was a dangerous situation to have a guy that comes to you and is in that kind of a state.
Mm-hmm.
And you pretty much have nothing to offer. I mean, you'll give him all the pills in the world for the rest of his life,
Right.
but you can't even give him a good spot to go, or, like say, hey, we will cover whatever bills you have for
Right.
a month or two,
Right.
or, something figured out to try to get some peace of mind while you're trying to get a handle on
Because
it.
that's the thing, is these people aren't crazy. They're not
No.
You're not crazy. I'm not crazy.
They're just having a moment.
We are a different breed of people, and this is not just Marines. This is military. And again, Hero Harbor is not just about military either. It's about police, fire. People who go. They have really high stress jobs, and so that's what it's about. It's a place for us to gather because we can find, and it will continue to get better because eventually, what will happen is when you create your account, we will ask you, where are you at? Are you still active? Are you newly separated? Are you a veteran, so to speak? And through those questions, we will be able to say, okay, you know what? These are the things that you might be eligible for, because people are not getting, the care they need, because a lot of times they don't realize what they're eligible. Hell, I've been in the VA system for nearly 30 years. I collected travel pay to the local VA for the first time in my life, only because another Marine literally marched me up to the counter and said, do this. I had no idea that I was eligible. So the point is, we would help them with that. But what I was getting at is that you're right. I mean, the VA needs an incredible overhaul. One of my things, most of the people who work there are not veterans. So there is no way that they can understand. And I've said that they need term limits on these jobs, because you imagine if you heard, like, one of the Marine I interviewed on Monday, he was part of recon and second recon, I think, or third recon. Anyway, he was in Fallujah. IED. He got asphalt in the back of his head, whatever. He came back and he was in pain, had all these issues, and so he had that. Then there was another there's an Army guy that I'm going to be interviewing next weekend, who in one day lost 5 of his buddies, 4 of which were caught in a fire and they couldn't get them out. So my point is, if you can imagine listening to those stories over and over and over and over, you would have just the way you pulled back from the vitriol and the anger in social media, you would have to, it would just wear you out. And so they need to take those people. Well, first of all, it should be, my personal opinion is, it should be veterans that are working the VA, because who better to help than somebody who's been there. I went through it. People looking at me like you're crazy. I mean, literally like you're crazy, and treating you that way. And so it's a combination of their apathy from being in the same job all the time and inability to have, and so it's like they just can't identify.
I mean, I don't think when we're talking about actual doctors, say, that are doing physical procedures and nurses and stuff. I don't think so much there, but especially when it gets into the mental part of this whole thing, it needs to be people that understand, because you can have a basic doctor, a person has a wound, they can know how to fix it, but when it gets into the whole mental side of the VA, that pretty much needs to be completely bad.
It's horrible, because again, there's nothing worse than the label. And the thing is, most of these people, like for instance, the Army guy I was just talking about, at one point he was like on 11 different medications. He was all this stuff. And after a while, it gets to this place where you don't know if it's a legitimate symptom or if it's something caused by a medication. And so they just stack one on top of the other. It's designer diagnosis of the day.
It's so terrible. That's one thing I've talked about a little bit is pills. It's horrible. Pills. No, dude, this is like I've said, it's Band-Aid upon Band-Aid upon Band-Aid. And all that happens is a person, like for me, they pretty much put me on 4 kinds right away. They put me on a antipsychotic, a mood stabilizer, a blood pressure, and an antidepressant, all at the same time.
Yeah.
And
how
I ended up
possibly know what's helping, what's not.
Can't tell what's going on. Yeah. I ended up tipped over on the floor on 3 different occasions, dying.
Yeah.
And then when I went in and told them about that, I said, something's going wrong. Like, this is killing me.
Right.
And they told me, oh, you're not on a big enough dose to do anything. I mean, people can have hardcore reactions from drinking beer. They can be, so you're going to tell me that this is fake? I told them, I said, I'm not really prone to panic. I'm not the kind of person that's prone to panic. I've done some crazy things in this life. I'm not prone to panic, but when I'm laying in the opposite room on the floor dying and I got a little daughter in the other room, this is something to worry about. And so I ended up pulling that stuff out, and I ended up feeling like I was walking crooked for like a week or whatever. And so I'm pretty sure I was on enough that it was actually, some way it was affecting my body. So, and the other thing is it made me feel like a zombie.
Right.
It just took away my emotions.
Well, and that's the thing too.
That's not good either. That's dangerous too.
Here's the thing that is what it does when you take warriors, you take heroes that are accustomed to pushing through, who are accustomed to taking care of themselves, taking care of other people, and all of a sudden you say, you're broken, here's a pill to fix you. It takes away all their power, all of all the things that they have known about themselves for so long. They knew they were strong. They knew, as I said, so I got out not knowing what my path was, and I was married to a Marine at the time. And when he and I divorced, we held hands walking in the courtroom. We never fought. To my knowledge, we were only married 4 years, but I don't think we ever had a fight. So that wasn't the issue by any means. But I get out, and all of a sudden I have no identity. I don't know who I am. So I get depressed for the first time in my life. So the VA, but I am 52, and you hear me, this is my energy level all the time. This is no matter how much or how little sleep I've had, that's just me. But and when I was in the Marine Corps, I worked out 3 times a day during the week. So I have always had this superhuman energy. And I saw that you had liked that one picture of me. Did you swipe and see the other one? Okay. Yeah. So the fat versus not fat picture. Okay. All right. So this is the story with that. And one of these days I'm going to, just like I'm doing you guys, I'm going to tell my whole story too. But so I get out. I go to the VA because that's the only help I have. So they give me, because I said I have this crazy depression. They give me Prozac, which shoved me into this, and because for that quick, I felt better. And for just a moment, I was like, oh my God, I can breathe. Oh, this must be the answer. Well, then I have that boomerang rebound effect, and I'm even worse depression. And so then I attempted suicide because the depression was even worse. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be my life forever. So then they put me in a halfway house where the people tell me I'm crazy, and I'm with legitimately crazy people. So then I get out and they say, okay, well, let's give you this. And anyway, so then they decide I'm bipolar. So they give me Depakote, and that's what started that weight gain that you saw.
Bipolar too.
Yeah. Oh yes, yes. And so for all those years, I didn't say I have bipolar disorder. I said I am bipolar. Not I'm a Marine, not I'm an A student, not I'm an excellent writer, not any of that shit. I said I'm bipolar. And when you have that label, when you think of yourself as broken, and when other people look at you as broken, and your entire life revolves around popping those fucking pills, I will have an explicit label on the broadcast, but then how in the world? And like I said, so you're taking the power away from incredibly valuable, powerful people.
That's what I've talked about this, like this idea that these people that are killing themselves are weak people is
the worst thing. It's absolutely right.
Going, like these are the people that have done what all the rest would not do.
Yes.
Thank you for spending this time with us. If you enjoyed the content we shared with you, please subscribe, review, and share this show with your friends. Veramore, the dating app, and Hero Harbor, the social connection tool for heroes, are both in the app stores. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as Veramore, Veramore_app, or Hero Harbor.